Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video we are going to be talking about this absolutely beautiful plant. Now of course when you tend to look at this plant for the first time, you might think that this is a philodendron silver sword, but this is actually an Aglaonema. This is called as Aglaonema sterling silver, or also called as Aglaonema silver. It's an absolutely beautiful plant. It is a very young plant at this point of time. The leaves will turn almost 3 to 4 times bigger than this. This is a quite young plant. As you can see, it's just putting out new growth. It has a very strong silver color. Maybe it's not picking up on this screen, and the silvers will have this very dull, or I would say very subtle variegation on it, not very visible, but as and when the plant will start to grow, they will be more visible. I think on this leaf it's going to be more visible. You can see this, it has this very slight variegation. It looks like watermarks, but it's actually the mottled variegation on the leaves. It is more silver compared to the other leaves, but these are more silver. The entire leaf itself looks silver. I don't know why it's not picking up on the camera. It looks more green, but it's actually quite silver. Now the care tips is very simple. All you have to do is offer a good amount of indirect but bright light. You can offer early morning direct sunlight if it's very mild, probably before 9 or 10 a.m. But after that, please keep it an indirect bright light. Do not offer it direct afternoon sunlight. The leaves will get burnt. They are only accustomed to indirect bright light, filtered light, dappled sunlight, or you can keep it under the green shade cloth. Or if you have large trees or foliage plants, you can even keep it beneath that so that it can get dappled sunlight. Talking about the soil mix, Aglaonemas prefer a very slight amount of even moisture in the soil, but not soggy wet soil. They are very prone to root rot if the soil tends to taste soggy wet. So ensure that you're using a soil that is well draining, loose and porous. So whenever you tend to water, the excess water should drain out, and the soil should only maintain an even moisture but not soggy wet. Watering, whenever you see around 1 to 2 inches of the upper layer of soil is dry, go ahead and do a complete watering until the water starts passing through the drain hole. They are not drought tolerant plant. They will immediately start to wilt the leaves. A lot of times the plants will also start to have yellow leaves if you tend to do excessive underwatering. Even with overwatering as well, the leaves will turn yellow, so you have to have a balanced watering. Now the soil mix that I've used over here is a mix of coco peat, garden soil, sand and perlite. Coco peat is going to maintain that slight amount of moisture. Garden soil is going to give the natural nutrients to the plant, and sand is going to make the soil mix well draining, because we need to have a very loose, porous and well draining soil mix. Talking about fertilizers, please don't add fertilizers during the winters. The plant tends to slow down its growth. Summer is their growing period, so during summers you can go with a diluted fertilizer. Liquid fertilizer tends to work out really well. But if you do not have that, you can go with compost or vermicompost. It is going to work out really well. A lot of people ask me, what is the other alternative to compost tea? I would say you have seaweed solution online. You can purchase that. I'll put the link in the description below if you want to buy it. It tends to work out really well. One bottle can last for a very long time, because seaweed is a very strong fertilizer. You need to use very little, probably 1/4 in the cup, and then you have to mix it with 1 liter of water and then give it to your plant. Remember guys, seaweed is very nutritious, so you have to be extremely careful. You cannot use it in a concentrated form, otherwise the plant will get burnt. Now talking about propagation, the propagation is pretty simple. You will start to notice a lot of offsets coming up. I've already made a video on propagation of Aglaonema. I'll put the link in the description below. You can check it out. It is pretty simple. They will start to put a lot of offshoots. Again, some of the Aglaonemas will have a very strong stem, just like how our Dieffenbachias have. Then you can do a stem cutting as well. Over here I don't see a stem, so most probably this plant will start to put a lot of offshoots, so I can separate it by taking out the plant and doing a root division. They do not have rhizomes. It is more of a stem and the root system like most of our plants. Talking about pest issues, yes, this plant does get affected with mealybugs especially, so always do a routine check. Spider mites are very rare, but if you notice some yellow spots, turn the leaves and check. If you notice that there are few spider mites or mealybugs attacking the plant, get into action and get rid of them at the early stage. Do not wait for it to turn into an infestation. Then the plant also becomes very weak, and when you tend to use any kind of chemicals or anything to spray on the plant, that also affects the plant. Of course it is going to kill the pest, but it also damages the plant to quite an extent. So always do a routine check once in 2 weeks, once in 3 weeks, and get rid of it as soon as possible. Talking about temperature and humidity, they are not very fussy fussy about humidity. Of course, if the humidity is high, it's much better for aglaonemas. They prefer the humidity levels anything above 55%, 60%. If you have an environment that is 70 to 80% of humidity, that is going to work out best for aglaonemas, but they will also do well in an average humidity of 55% to 60%. Temperature anywhere between 15 degrees Celsius up to 34-35 degrees Celsius is going to work out really well. They're more like these tropical plants, so they prefer a good amount of humidity with a warmer environment. Talking about, is aglaonema toxic? Yes, aglaonemas are toxic to humans and pets both, so ensure that you're keeping the plant away from the reach of small children and pets, because if the leaves are ingested, it can be quite toxic, so ensure you're keeping this plant away from the reach. Apart from that, it's an absolutely beautiful, easy to grow plant. If you are looking out for a plant that has a more different shade of green, or let's say you are looking out for a plant that has a very unique color, something related to silver, then this is one of the plant you can add in your collection. Of course, remember, as I said, there is philodendron silver sword as well. It has more silver compared to this. This is more on the greenish silver kind, and then it gets this variegation. The philodendron silver sword will not have this kind of variegation, so you need to kind of distinguish between this pattern. So here is my philodendron silver sword. You can see very similar. They look, the color wise looks very similar, but the only thing you can see the difference is the variegation. This philodendrons will not have it. Even this will change its leaf form after some time. This is a very young plant that I have, but right now they both look very similar. So you have to be careful, because a lot of times you might end up buying the same plant. So just check. The aglaonema is going to have this very subtle variegation on it that differentiates between both of these. But of course, when the philodendron is mature, it is not going to look anything like an aglaonema. It's going to look absolutely different. But right now, I was quite confused when I bought this aglaonema. I thought probably the seller has made a mistake, but then I realized no, it is a very different plant. So thankfully I purchased it, because I really love this aglaonema. As and when it starts to grow, you will see how beautiful this plant actually tends to look like. So if you're looking out for an easy low maintenance plant which does not require a lot of care, here is the plant you can add in your collection. Looks absolutely beautiful. I'm not very sure if you're going to find it in your local nursery, but of course online you will definitely find it, and it's a super plant that you can add in your collection. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.